Gemma here, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. I wanted to do a video today on health anxiety, health OCD versus real health problems. So this was really hard for me, and I know a lot of other people suffering with health OCD will relate to this, is working out what needs actual attention and what can wait. So with health OCD, everything is going to feel extremely real. It's going to feel like you have these conditions, you have these problems. You know, I've had it to the point where I was laid on the floor of a car park on the phone to an ambulance in front of my child, telling them that I was having a heart attack, I was having an aneurysm, both at the same time. It felt extremely real. I felt the physical sensations. I felt my heart constricting. I felt shooting pains go down my left arm. I felt like dripping in my head. I felt bangs in my head. I felt every physical sensation that you can think of. And at what point do you just sit there and go, I can feel all of this going on, and I'm just going to do absolutely nothing? You know, what if that time you ignore it is the time that there's something actually wrong? That's what we all think when we've got health anxiety is, but this time it's real, and if I ignore it this time, I'm going to die. Because that's usually the fear there. It's usually a fear of death, a fear of having a terrible quality of life. So, you know, with like degenerative disorders and things, I had a really big fear of motor neurons disease, you know, and that was definitely not only a fear of the health side of things, but also a fear of like being trapped in my own head, because I thought if I have OCD and I'm just in my own head, can't move my body. Sorry, this is going to be really triggering for some people, but triggers are good. You know, how would life look for me then? And that took a lot to break all of that down. But sorry, going back to whether things are real or not. So I started using a delay technique with health anxiety symptoms, because after a very long time of calling my doctor, going to the hospital, telling them that there was something wrong with me, calling ambulances, you know, it was becoming really compulsive. And it did take it getting to the point where I went, I can't live like this anymore. And that was the big catalyst for me, is thinking I can't actually keep doing this. Like, I would rather there be something seriously wrong with me, something physically seriously wrong with me, than live like this anymore. Because I think it takes getting to that point of, I don't care what happens to me anymore. I just don't want to live like this. I don't want to keep doing these compulsions. I don't want to keep avoiding things. You know, whatever happens. And it sounds like it's, you know, an easy conclusion to come to, and it's most definitely not. And it was really hard. And I remember, what was the name of the Netflix series? I was watching a Netflix series at the time about a woman that gets cancer. And I remember I was watching it and I was just, Firefly Lane, and I was just sobbing. I sobbed through the entire series. And I mean, you didn't even find out she got cancer till the end. So sorry, that's a spoiler alert if you're wanting to watch that. But I think at the time, I was just feeling so bad. I was also, it felt like everything I watched on TV, there was a big health issue. You know, when I was fearing aneurysms, I watched something where a girl who was probably my age had an aneurysm and just died. And then I remember sending Nick, actually, he will probably remember this, a video of my TV that I was recording. Because at the time, my biggest fear was having a heart attack, but having a heart attack at the wheel of my car. So every time I got in the car, I would have chest pains, I would have shooting pains going up and down my left arm. Like, I would have all of these things going on every single time I got in the car. And I was watching this program, and within the first 5 minutes, someone had been driving their car, had a heart attack, and then crashed the car and died. And I couldn't believe that was my biggest fear, and that was just exactly what happened in this show. But it's because I always say this, we're natural born scientists. We think of something and then we try and find evidence to back that thing up. So we'll look at TV shows and we'll pick parts out of it and go, well, maybe that means that this is going to happen because, this is, or we'll like watch something that's like an hour long, but the only thing we'll see is what we want to see. We buy a new car and suddenly a car that we don't think we've ever seen before, we don't think we've seen many of, like, oh, not many people have that car. But then you go out on a drive and you see 10 of them because your mind's just more aware of that now. So it's what you pick out. But what I had to do when I was feeling any kind of physical sensation is I had to leave it and not engage and not do anything with it. Just carry on with everything as I was and not see a doctor, which sounds really dangerous, but at some point it has to come to that. Like if it was something like, for instance, I found a lump in my breast at the time that I was struggling with health anxiety, and it wasn't just I've been having a good feel around when normally I wouldn't. So I felt this tiny thing that could have been there for years. It was quite prominent. It was somewhere I would have noticed previously. It was quite large. So with that, I mean, again, I did actually leave that for about a week before I called the doctor because I was thinking like, I don't want to like jump into this and automatically go into like panic mode. So I'm going to give myself a week to calm down and just, accept that it could be the worst case scenario. But if it is, then I have to deal with that. There's nothing I can do. So I gave it a week, went to the doctor, had tests. Thankfully, it wasn't anything sinister at all. And it was all absolutely fine. But giving myself that little bit of room, that little bit of time between finding and going to the doctor allowed me to not become so panicked and like wrapped up in it and obsessive with it. And I had to do that for so long with so many things, like the physical sensations I had in my brain. I said to myself, if I'm still feeling like this dripping sensation in a week, then I'll see a doctor. After a week, I was still feeling it. And I went, okay, now I'm going to go a month. And it was really hard. It was, I'm not saying this is going to be something easy because it's so difficult. It's so difficult. When you feel like that feeling and it's life or death in your mind, the need that comes in to do something about it is so strong. And I had to spend so many nights laying there thinking, I'm not going to wake up because, whatever this is that I've been ignoring, it's going to kill me. And I had to think that for so long. And it was really, really tough. But, your brain is just reacting to what you're doing. And when you're showing it that you're scared by visiting a doctor every single time you feel something in your body, you're showing your brain there's something to be scared of, and it's firing off all of those fear responses in the form of anxiety. Whereas if you leave it, allow it to be there, eventually it's going to realize that you don't need to be scared of that thing. And it is hard. It is really hard, but it's also possible. It can be done. And it's really, really important that you try your absolute best to just sit there with those feelings, with those sensations, because you don't recover by going to the doctors every single time you feel something in your body. You don't, because all you're doing is showing yourself that you're still scared. And when you're still scared, the anxiety is still very, very present. But I hope that's helped. And if you can think of any other topics that you'd like me to cover, anything about health anxiety, anything about parenting, anything about ROCD, just anything, just pop a comment below and I will cover it in one of my next videos. Thank you.